On the left is Donald Trump. The right is Hillary Clinton. This is the first presidential debate in 2016. I thought it'd be interesting to go back and watch it again because you would not believe the fascinating insight that Hillary Clinton had at the time. Seriously. So let's give this a listen. And while we do, we're going to play some Final Fantasy VII Remake. Should just be in the background. Won't bother you too much. You never played before.
Good luck to you. Mr. Trump, good luck to you. Well, I don't expect us to cover all the issues of this campaign tonight, but I remind everyone there are 2 more presidential debates scheduled. We are going to focus on many of the issues that voters tell us are most important, and we're going to press for specifics. I am honored to have this role, but this evening belongs to the candidates and just as important to the American people. Candidates, we look forward to hearing you articulate your policies and your positions, as well as your visions and your values. So, let's begin. We're calling this opening segment Achieving Prosperity, and central to that is jobs. There are 2 economic realities in America today. There's been a record 6 straight years of job growth, and new census numbers show incomes have increased at a record rate after years of stagnation. However, income inequality remains significant, and nearly half of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck.
Isn't that quaint what we were talking about back then?
Beginning with you, Secretary Clinton, why are you a better choice than your opponent to create the kinds of jobs that will put more money into the pockets of American workers?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because Trump, as we came to find, we knew it back then, but it's an unavoidable conclusion now. He was dumb as dog. We had no clue how stupid the guy was at the time.
Thank you, Lester, and thanks to Hofstra for hosting us. The central question in this election is really what kind of country we want to be and what kind of future we'll build together. Today is my granddaughter's 2nd birthday, so I think about this a lot. First, we have to build an economy that works for everyone, not just those at the top.
Okay, let me tell you something about Hillary Clinton. She knows what she's talking about, really. She is one of the most knowledgeable and skilled politicians in the world, maybe. She is so incredibly well informed on this subject. Like, the world actually would have been a better place if she had become the president. I mean, I'm not saying that because I like Hillary Clinton, not saying that because I think that she had our best interests at heart or whatever. I don't think that about her, but she knows what she's doing. Anyway, aside from all of that, I don't know if you guys knew this, but there's a reason why Hillary Clinton is as hated as she is. It's twofold. Number one, Bill Clinton was, well, threefold, I suppose. Bill Clinton was the governor of Arkansas back in the day, like forever ago. Back in the 80s or the 90s, I think. She was the first lady of Arkansas, and she was kind of a feminist. And, of course, what do you call Arkansans? Is that what they're called? Arkansans didn't like that. They called her uppity and all that other stuff that they call feminists, you know. She was like the first feminist first lady of Arkansas, and they found reasons to demonize and hate her. So she was hated because of her progressive views, originally. Then, the second major reason she's hated is because she stood there and smiled at her husband while he straight up lied about his affair. I don't know that she believed him, but she at least pretended to, and that was like spineless, basically. That's how it was viewed, as spineless. And number three, there's a massive propaganda machine that came against Hillary Clinton in 2016, around this time, designed to demonize her, make her out to be like somebody that's working against you, trying to destroy the people in America and all that other junk. Those are the three reasons Hillary Clinton is hated. Now, personally, I think that I'm kind of a fan of what she did as the first lady of Arkansas, number one. Number two, I don't really care about her personal problems with Bill. They can work that out between them. And number three, I just don't buy into this propaganda machine from 2016. I just don't. So I don't actually hate Hillary Clinton, really. In fact, I don't even really distrust her. I just think she's like a kind of a corporate shill a little bit. Like she gives in to what corporations want more than I think she should. But overall, she knows what the fuck she is doing. She would be a better president than maybe any human being alive, actually, because of how experienced she is. Agreed, plus Bernie would have beat Trump. I'm not convinced of that. I supported Bernie to the death. I love Bernie to death, seriously. He's the best. But I started to realize that Bernie Sanders almost certainly wouldn't have beaten Trump after I watched Biden sail straight through the primaries practically. Like, when Biden joined the election, he got through and took the nomination pretty cleanly. And that's when I started to realize the country, I'm totally out of step with where the country is. Like, the country is in favor of much more moderate people than me. And I just don't think Bernie Sanders could have won. I just don't. I wish he could have. But anyway, let's keep listening here. Sorry.
Means we need new jobs, good jobs with rising incomes. I want us to invest in you. I want us to invest in your future. That means jobs in infrastructure, in advanced manufacturing, in innovation and technology, clean
That's all good things, yes.
renewable energy, and small business, because most of the new jobs will come from small business. We also have to make the economy fairer. That starts with raising the national minimum wage.
All good shit. I love it. Yes, I love everything about this. Absolutely.
Guarantee, finally, equal pay for women's work. I also want to see more companies do profit sharing. If you help create the profits, you should be able to share in them, not just the executives at the top.
You know what's fascinating? People didn't realize this at the time, and they probably still don't realize this, but what she's describing, profit sharing, that is actually socialism, which I'm fine with. I think that we should be doing some profit sharing, but that's moving further towards socialism than capitalism, where the workers own the means of production and supply. Anyway, people just, like, that flies right over Republicans' heads. I have no clue, but whatever. They think communism and socialism are synonymous.
And I want us to do more to support people who are struggling to balance family and work. I've heard from so many of you about the difficult choices you face and the stresses that you're under. So let's have paid family leave, earned sick days. Let's be sure we have affordable childcare and debt-free college.
Dude, I love everything about it. Absolutely.
How are we going to do it? We're going to do it by having the wealthy pay their fair share and close the corporate loopholes. Finally, we tonight are on the stage together, Donald Trump and I. Donald, it's good to be with you.
Don't say that, Hillary.
We're going to have a debate where we are talking about the important issues facing our country. You have to judge us. Who can shoulder the immense, awesome responsibilities of the presidency? Who can put into action the plans that will make your life better? I hope that I will be able to earn your vote on November 8th.
Secretary Clinton, thank you. Mr. Trump, the same question to you. It's about putting more money into the pockets of American workers. You have up to 2 minutes.
Thank you, Lester. Our jobs are fleeing the country. They're going to Mexico. They're going to many other countries.
Yeah, that's called outsourcing, and it's a metric that can be measured and adapted and changed. If you want to decrease outsourcing, you can change certain factors like interest rates or tariffs or whatever. So if that's your complaint, then great. But does he even understand what he's saying right now, actually? I doubt it.
Look at what China is doing to our country in terms of making our product. They're devaluing their currency, and there's nobody in our government to fight them. And
like, that wasn't true at the time, to my knowledge.
we have a very good fight, and we have a winning fight, because they're using our country as a piggy bank to rebuild China, and many other countries are doing the same thing.
Okay, does he think that, like, we're just, like, sending money to China right now? Does he think that's what's happening? It's like when people complain that NASA gets, like, $2 billion or something, and they spend it on Mars. Like, do you think that money is, like, being put in a rocket and literally flown to Mars? You think that's what's happening? It's being used on our economy to improve our conditions here. People are spending money on like metal workers and stuff to create like steel plating and stuff for rockets. They're not sending the money to Mars. This is like the same kind of mindset.
So we're losing our good jobs, so many of them. When you look at what's happening in Mexico, a friend of mine who builds plants said it's the eighth wonder of the world. They're building some of the biggest plants anywhere in the world, some of the most sophisticated, some of the best plants. With the United States, as he said, not so much. So Ford is leaving.
Oh, yeah. And the things that Donald Trump planned to do and actually did fixed that problem right up, didn't it?
You see that their small car division leaving. Thousands of jobs leaving Michigan, leaving Ohio. They're all leaving, and we can't allow it to happen anymore. As far as child care is concerned and so many other things, I think Hillary and I agree on that. We probably disagree a little bit as to numbers and amounts and what we're going to do, but perhaps we'll be talking about that later. But we have...
It's so crazy how measured Trump was at the time. He was so calm and smooth, and he knew how to keep his fucking mouth shut while others were talking. He was polite. He's really fascinating.
We have to stop our jobs from being stolen from us. We have to stop our companies from leaving the United States and with it firing all of their people. All you have to do is take a look at Carrier Air Conditioning in Indianapolis. They left, fired 1,400 people. They're going to Mexico. So many, hundreds and hundreds of companies are doing that.
Again, if you think outsourcing is a bad thing, we can fix that. There are good reasons for outsourcing, though. It can stimulate an economy if we do outsourcing, actually. So, all right, you're arguing against outsourcing. Well, let's fix it then. I'm not even sure that outsourcing is a real big problem in the U.S. anyway, though. Not right now. I'm not sure. I don't know. It could be. I haven't looked lately.
We cannot let it happen. Under my plan, I'll be reducing taxes tremendously from 35% to 15% for companies, small and big businesses. That's going to be a job creator like we haven't seen.
No, it isn't. That's trickle-down economic bullshit. Or as George H.W. Bush called it, voodoo economics. It's nonsense. That does not fix anything. They say a rising tide rises all boats. Is that the saying? I don't remember. Yeah, that's just nonsense. That's not how economies work. And as a matter of fact, at this time, people knew that. We knew that already. There's something called the Kansas experiment done by Sam Brownback. He's the governor of Kansas at the time when this is done. Not that long ago. It was a full-scale test of something called the Laffer curve. It was a full-scale test of trickle-down economics on a large economy, and it destroyed the Kansas economy. Destroyed it. It didn't work the way that anybody who advocated for it thought it would. And that was pretty obvious to 99% of economists out there that it wouldn't work that way. You know what happens when we lower taxes for big corporations so that they have more money? They put that money in their pockets. It's like they say, the guy that makes $1 million a year buys the same amount of eggs and milk and bread as the guy that makes $10,000 a year. Or, you know, they need the same amount of milk and eggs and bread and cheese. Putting more money in rich people's pockets at the expense of poor people, which is where the money's coming from, by the way. It's coming from everybody else. Doesn't improve the economy at all. It actually makes things worse. So if you want to make things better in the United States, you need to decrease income inequality and make it so that the lowest paid employee in the United States is only a fraction of the highest paid employee in the United States. So like lowest paid employee, if they make $100,000 a year, the highest paid employee should only make $1 million a year. That kind of thing. I mean, it may not be, or maybe not that dramatic, but still, that would fix a lot of problems in the United States. A lot.
since Ronald Reagan. It's going to be a beautiful thing to watch. Companies will come, they will build, they will expand, new companies will start, and I look very, very much forward to doing it. We have to renegotiate our trade deals, and we have to stop these countries from stealing our companies and our jobs.
Like, he's making it out as though companies aren't in the United States because of the high taxes, when you can just keep people in the country and have high taxes if you give other types of incentives or other types of punishments for leaving the country, for example. I mean, there are a billion ways to prevent companies from leaving the United States to go to avoid taxes.
Secretary Clinton, would you like to respond?
Well, I think that trade is an important issue. Of course, we are 5% of the world's population. We have to trade with the other 95%. And we need to have smart, fair trade deals. We also, though, need to have a tax system that rewards work and not just financial transactions. And the kind of plan that Donald has put forth would be trickle-down economics all over again. In fact, it would be...
Yeah, he's literally describing trickle-down economics.
The most extreme version, the biggest tax cuts for the top percent of the people in this country than we've ever had. I call it trumped up trickle down, because that's exactly...
Zing! Oh, that was a sick burn, Hillary. I'm kidding. That was fucking stupid. But I appreciate the effort. It's called voodoo economics by Reagan, who kind of coined the phrase, I think. Or under Reagan, trickle-down economics became really popular, and he instituted it. It was called voodoo economics by his vice president, George H.W. Bush.
Exactly what it would be. That is not how we grow the economy. We just have a different view about what's best for growing the economy, how we make investments that will actually produce jobs and rising incomes. I think we come at it from somewhat different perspectives. I understand that. You know, Donald was very fortunate in his life, and that's all to his benefit. He started his business with $14 million borrowed from his father, and he really believes that the more you help wealthy people, the better off we'll be, and that...
Yeah, that's just false. It does not work that way. Ask any economist.
Everything will work out from there. I don't buy that. I have a different experience. My father was a small businessman. He worked really hard. He printed drapery fabrics on long tables where he pulled out those fabrics and he went down with a silk screen and dumped the paint in and took the squeegee and kept going.
That's actually pretty cool.
And so what I believe is the more we can do for the middle class, the more we can invest in you, your education, your skills, your future, the better we will be off and the better we'll grow. That's the kind of economy I want us to see again.
Let me follow up with Mr. Trump, if I can. You've talked about creating 25 million jobs, and you've promised to bring back millions of jobs for Americans. How are you going to bring back the industries that have left this country for cheaper labor overseas? How specifically are you going to tell American manufacturers that you have to come back?
Well, for one thing, and before we start on that, my father gave me a very...
Oh, my God. He's got to defend his honor of being a rich person. Okay. Tell me why it's okay that you're filthy fucking rich, Donald. What about your father? What about that scumbag who intentionally, specifically would not rent to black people and was sued for it by some government organization?
Well, for one thing, and before we start on that, my father gave me a very small loan in 1975, and I built it into a company that's worth many, many billions of dollars with some of the greatest assets in the world. And I say that only because that's the kind of thinking that our country needs. Our country's in deep trouble. We don't know what we're doing when it comes to devaluations, and all of these countries all over the world, especially China.
Okay, so it sounds like he just said we need to covet more, right? Is that what he said? We need more coveting? More envy, get people to care more about having things or taking things from others, right? He's basically advocating for being a scumbag here. And that's what he did his entire 4 years. He's totally telling the truth, I suppose.
The best ever at it. What they're doing to us is...
Yeah, what's he doing? Why is he sniffing so much?
Is a very...
God, that'd give me a headache if I sniffed as much as he does.
the best ever at it. What they're doing to us is a very, very sad thing. So we have to do that. We have to renegotiate our trade deals. And Lester, they're taking our jobs. They're giving.
Dude, why does he sniff that much?
Incentives. They're doing things that, frankly, we don't do. Let me give you the example of Mexico. They have a VAT tax. We're in a different system.
Yeah, VAT tax is bad. It's a regressive tax, hurts the poor.
We sell into Mexico. There's a tax when they sell in automatic, 16% approximately.
Yeah, dumbass, it's called a tariff.
They sell into us, there's no tax. It's a defective.
Are you kidding me? I am not going to be that guy. I will not be that guy. I'm going to stay calm, and I'm going to use my soundboard to express my feelings on things.
Fucking thing sucks!
Agreement. It's been defective for a long time, many years, but the politicians haven't done anything about it. Now, in all fairness to Secretary Clinton, yes, is that okay? Good.
Is what okay? And since when did he ever give a shit about what people think?
I want you to be very happy. It's very important to me. But in all fairness to Secretary...
Holy shit, this is wild, right? This is so crazy to hear Donald Trump... You know, at some point, everything ran away with him. At some point, everything changed in his head. He realized that he's like a cult leader, and he embraced it and turned into a complete fucking monster. Like, I think that monster was always there, but he liked to keep it kind of under wraps, kind of hidden, you know. Now he's just unleashed it all, and he's ready to show people just how monstrous he really is. He sniffs because he has allergies. Yeah, that could be. That's possible. I thought it was just one of his speech patterns. Like, that's how he takes a breath when he's speaking. And it just sounds weird.
I want you to be very happy. It's very important to me. But in all fairness to Secretary Clinton, when she started talking...
See, in this debate, he was very charming and sweet and nice and interesting. And he seemed to know what he was talking about. This debate right here is the one that won him the presidency, in my opinion. Sometimes debates will make or break a president.
Talking about this, it was really very recently. She's been doing this for 30 years. And why hasn't she made the agreements better? The NAFTA agreement is defective just because of the tax and many other reasons, but just because of the fact.
Let me interrupt just a moment.
Yeah, I think NAFTA was signed by Bill Clinton, right? And yeah, it wasn't great. But the reason that it wasn't great was because it did too much for big corporations and not enough for the workers, basically.
Secretary Clinton and others, politicians, should have been doing this for years, not right now because of the fact that we've created a movement. They should have been doing this for years. What's happened to our jobs and our country and our economy generally is, look, we owe $20 trillion. We cannot do it any longer, Lester.
Back to the question, though, how do you specifically bring back jobs? American manufacturers, how do you make them bring the jobs back?
Well, the first thing you do is don't let the jobs leave. The companies are leaving.
Okay, well, they're gone. So what do we do next, Donald, if you're so smart? No, in all seriousness, there are ways to bring, companies back. And, well, for example, here's just one way you could do it. There's a lot of money overseas right now that's stored in countries that have very low to zero taxes on American money. We could do a tax holiday to repatriate all of that money. And once it's repatriated, we can control what happens to it from there. If you want to bring jobs back, you can make it more expensive to leave than to stay. You can charge companies a certain amount of money if they do certain things. There are a billion options here. And Donald knows none of them.
There are thousands of them. They're leaving, and they're leaving in bigger numbers than ever. And what you do is you say, fine, you want to go to Mexico or some other country, good luck. We wish you a lot of luck. But if you think you're going to make your air conditioners or your cars or your cookies or whatever you make, and bring them into our country without a tax, you're wrong. And once you say you're going to have to tax them coming in, and our politicians never do this because they have special interests, and the special interests want those companies to leave because in many cases they own the companies. So what I'm saying is we can stop them from leaving.
Yeah, what the hell is he saying?
We have to stop them from leaving, and that's a big, big factor.
Yeah, we established that, Jagoff. We're asking how.
Secretary Clinton.
Well, let's stop for a second and remember where we were 8 years ago. We had the worst financial crisis, the Great Recession, the worst since the 1930s. That was in large part because of tax policies that slashed taxes on the wealthy, failed.
Well, that was actually, yeah, okay, I suppose a little, but it was more because big companies were lying and cheating and stealing, actually. That's really why the recession happened, but all right.
Wall Street and created a perfect storm. In fact, Donald was one of the people who rooted for the housing crisis. He said,
what happened, if you don't know, in 2008 is there were some people at the very top of this whole thing. I don't know. I think it was a total of like 100 people basically that were involved heavily. They were, there are rating companies that will rate the likelihood that somebody is going to follow through with a home loan. So someone gets a home loan, they have a credit score of say 600 or something, or 605. They know that over the course of 30 years, they might have a C rating. They have a 70% chance of following through with the entire loan and making the bank whole. But somebody with a credit rating of, I don't know, how high does it go? 800? I'm not sure. Someone with a credit rating of 800 might have a 99% chance of following through with the loan. Someone who already has a home loan is likely to follow through if they've already followed through after 7 years, because that's like the average amount, I think. Anyway, these bankers were, instead of rating the people, the loans, correctly as A, B, C, they're also AA, AAA. Instead of rating them correctly, they rated them all as AAA. Even if the person had a credit score of like 550 and were almost guaranteed not to pay it. They rated them all as AAA. And banks and credit unions who give loans to people like that will then package these loans, and they'll say, you know, this grouping of like 100 home loans, say 100 home loans that are worth $50,000 each, we're going to make a total of $100,000 off of each loan if they follow through for 30 years. So 100 times 100,000 was $10 million. Sorry, I'm not good at math on the spot. Yeah, $10 million, which you're going to make from this package of home loans. And it was a package of $50,000 loans, 100 of them. So that's $5 million that we spent on it. So if you... so I will sell you, like as a bank or a credit union, I will sell this package of AAA rated home loans to you for $90,000, and you'll get $100,000 out of it over the course of 10 years. And the reason I'm selling it is because I want the money right now. And the reason that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the two major financial institutions that do this, that buy these things, the reason they wanted to buy them is because it's kind of a constant steady income for like the next 30 years or whatever. They are going to make a profit off it. It's a way of getting capital. Basically it's a way of making money generate more money. It's a way of putting in zero work, but generating money anyway, as Hillary Clinton was talking about earlier. So anyway, some people at the top of certain financial institutions knew that these home loan packages were not AAA rated. They were adding in people who had, C ratings on their home loan. They were adding them into AAA rated packages, and they were lying about it, and they knew that they were lying. And then they were selling them to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the two major institutions that buy that stuff. So they were selling them for like a lot of money. The people that were mislabeling them were pocketing the difference that they would have gotten. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars that these people were making and putting in their own pockets. And it only took, a little bit of time. This all happened under George Bush, by the way. It only took about a year, 2 years, 3 years for those home loans that were not AAA rated in reality, that were lied about, to start falling apart. Like I said, it's about 7 years. If someone makes it to 7 years, then they're probably going to pay the whole 30 years or the whole 15 or whatever their mortgage time was for. I don't even know where I'm going right now. I'm just wandering around. So it only took a few years for people to stop paying, for houses to be foreclosed on, and for everything to fall apart. It wasn't long. And when that happened, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, who own nearly all of the money in the country, or at least control a lot of the money in the country, and a lot of other big banks, failed. They fell apart. Our entire financial system crumbled instantly because, like, a few people at the top lied to pocket millions of dollars. And I hear you asking yourself, what happened to those people at the top who did all of that lying? Did they have to pay the money back? Did they go to jail? No, nothing happened to them. They just moved on with their lives. One man was blamed for the whole thing. One man went to jail for some period of time, and then it was over. That's it. Everything, our entire financial system came crumbling down because these people lied, and nothing happened. Anyway, economists came in and advised Obama on the best thing to do. Like, how do we solve this problem? So Obama has economists come in and tells them how to solve these problems, and he does it. He institutes a bunch of regulations and does a whole bunch of shit to prevent this stuff from happening in the first place. The reason this was even possible is because Glass-Steagall, an economic policy from like the 1920s or 30s to prevent this exact type of thing, was repealed. I don't remember who did it. Was it Bush? Maybe it was Clinton. I don't remember. And of course, when it was repealed, guess what? The banks did it again. So Obama passes Dodd-Frank, named after, I think, a senator and an economist. I don't remember. Maybe 2 senators. Anyway, he passed that to prevent that kind of thing from happening in the future, basically. The entire housing market and financial system, the whole thing, everything was in peril. And if you were filthy rich and didn't have all of your money invested in land, you could have made a good profit off of this. Donald Trump probably made a profit off this stuff by buying up a bunch of houses when they were dirt cheap, I would guess, and then selling them again when Obama stabilized the economy. George Bush destroyed the economy and allowed it to come crumbling down, and on his way out the door, dropped the keys on the floor and said, "Goodbye, you deal with it, Obama." Obama had to piece together this f***ing mess, and he did. Every single time a Republican president gets into office, they completely f*** the economy, and the Democrat has to come in and fix it just about. Every time.
Back in 2006, gee, I hope it does collapse because then I can go in and buy some and make some money. Well, that's
what Trump said, I guess. Yeah, that's exactly what he did, too.
Did collapse.
That's called business, by the way.
9 million people. 9 million people lost their jobs. 5 million people lost their homes, and $13 trillion in family wealth was wiped.
3.1 million Americans filed for foreclosure in 2008. 1 in every 54 homes at the time. However, other estimates suggest that between 2007 and 2010, there were approximately 3.8 million foreclosures. By August 2008, 9.2% of all U.S. mortgages outstanding were either delinquent or in foreclosure. And by September 2009, it had risen to 14.4%. So I'm not sure if it capped off at about 15%. It may have capped at 15%. That is insane. And again, guess who benefited from that absolute havoc, that chaos. Donald Trump did. Yeah, it's business. And that's the kind of business that I want to fucking destroy. If that's what it costs to live in this kind of economy, I don't want to live in this kind of economy. If those types of people are required for our system to work, I don't want to live in this system. That is like grotesque and evil.
Now, we have come back from that abyss, and it has not been easy.
Yeah, thanks to Obama.
We're now on the precipice of having a potentially much better economy, but the last thing we need to do.
Precariously perched on this precipice, prepared to, what was it she said? Prepared to prostrate ourselves on the preeminent something.
Of having a potentially
prostrating ourselves.
Much better economy, but the last thing we need to do is to go back to the policies that failed us in the first place. Independent experts have looked at what I've proposed and looked at what Donald's proposed, and basically they've said this, that if his tax plan, which would blow up the debt by over $5 trillion.
And that is exactly what happened. Seriously, Hillary knew everything. She knew the whole fucking thing. All the way in, what year was this? 2015 or 2016, I guess, probably. She knew. Hillary knew.
And would, in some instances, disadvantage middle-class families compared to the wealthy. Were to go into effect, we would lose 3.5 million jobs and maybe have another recession. They've looked at my plans and they've said, okay, if we can do this, and I intend to get it done, we will have 10 million more new jobs because we will be making investments where we can grow the economy. Take clean energy. Some country is going to be the clean energy superpower of the 21st century.
Yep.
Donald thinks that climate change is a hoax perpetrated by the Chinese. I think it's real.
I did not.
Like, it doesn't even matter if it's real. Fine, it's fake, whatever. I don't even give a shit. But clean energy, using clean energy, like, what's the downside here? Why would anybody not want to be energy independent? Do you have any idea how many barrels of oil we pull out of the ground every day? I think it's, what is it? Is it 19 or 20 million barrels of oil per day that we pull out of the ground? And so I think it's 20 we pull and we use 19 million, something like that. At one point we were pulling, under Donald Trump, we were using 19 and only pulling 16 million out of the ground. I remember last time I looked this up. If we want true power in the world, like if we want to have world power and world relevance, there's one super simple thing we could do. Instead of giving tax cuts to, all of the rich and running the debt up $5 trillion, as Donald Trump did, we could have taken $5 trillion, which, by the way, is less than we spent on the Iraq War. We could have taken that money and spent it on outfitting the country in 100% renewable energy, complete renewable energy. That would have cost $6 trillion to outfit the entire United States in renewable energy. It would cost about $30 trillion to outfit the entire world in 100% renewable energy. And you know what we could do after that? Take those 19 million barrels of oil or whatever and sell them to somebody else. That would be energy independence and financial benefit. There's like no downside to that. Climate change. Who cares about climate change? Fine. Forget it. It's not happening. Whatever. I don't even care. I mean, obviously it is happening. Obviously we should give a shit about it. Obviously it's an existential threat to us. But you know what? Fine. If you don't care about climate change, whatever. You should at the very least be in favor of clean energy. I don't understand.
I do not say that.
And I think it's important that we grip this and deal with it, both at home and abroad. And here's what we can do. We can deploy 500 million more solar panels. We can have enough clean energy to power every home. We can build a new modern electric grid. That's a lot of jobs. That's a lot of new economic activity.
Yeah, FDR did that exact thing, basically. He called himself the employer of last resort. Like, the government is the employer of last resort. When you're having a an economic crisis like 2008, for example, or an economic crisis like in the 1930s, like FDR was dealing with, the government can be the employer of last resort and build roads and bridges and clean everything up and fix stuff. And in this case, we can create like an energy independent grid where we're fully renewable. I don't get it. Why are we not doing this? There's a point in time when we couldn't do it because we didn't have the technology yet. About 10 years ago, we had a technological breakthrough that made it possible for us to go fully renewable energy. Unfortunately, like, for better or worse, nuclear power is going to be a part of that equation when we make that transition. I don't have a problem with nuclear power, but a lot of people do. Either way, we can do this, like now. Why are we not doing this?
So I've tried to be very specific about what we can and should do, and I am determined that we're going to get the economy really moving again, building on the progress we've made over the last 8 years, but never going back to what got us in trouble in the first place.
Mr. Trump.
She talks about solar panels. We invested in a solar company, our country. That was a disaster. They lost plenty.
What was a disaster? I don't understand. And also, I have no idea what he's talking about, but either way, the country has made like massive, like jumps or massive technological boosts in the past, 20, 30 years. One of the limiting factors, I believe, was batteries, how we constructed them and how well they held a charge, how much of a charge they held, how long they held it. And we made a breakthrough with it. I don't remember what it was. Saline something, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, we are fully capable now as a species of going completely 100% renewable. Anytime we feel like doing that, we can do it. 21.8% of the EU is run on nuclear energy already. Did not know that. Interesting. Well, that's good news. We're moving in the right direction currently. We're just not moving fast enough.
Plenty of money on that one. Now, look, I'm a great believer in all forms of energy, but
I'm a great believer in energy. I believe in energy.
Putting a lot of people out of work. Our energy policies are a disaster. Our country is losing so much in terms of energy, in terms of paying off our debt. You can't do...
What the hell is he talking about?
...what you're looking to do with $20 trillion in debt. The Obama administration, from the time...
Isn't this funny? You can't do this with $20 trillion in debt. 4 years later, we're $30 trillion in debt. Thank you, Donald.
They've come in is over 230 years worth of debt, and he's topped it. He's doubled it in a course of almost 8 years, 7.5.
Yeah, and why do you think Obama had to put money into this in the first place? Any ideas? I'll take anything. You want to throw out some answers? It was because George Bush destroyed the economy on his way out the door and left it to Obama.
2.5 years to be.
Oh, and by the way, like a lot of the money that Obama, say, loaned to Ford or whatever, automotive companies, a lot of the money that he loaned to them, we actually made a profit on those loans to keep them from going under.
Semi-exact. So I will tell you this. We have to do a much better job at keeping our jobs, and we have to do a much better job at giving companies incentive to build new companies or to expand, because they're not doing it. And all you have to do is look at Michigan and look at Ohio and look at all of these places.
Like, isn't that exactly what Hillary was saying in the first place? What is he complaining about right now?
Where so many of their jobs and their companies are just leaving. They're gone. And Hillary, I just ask you this. You've been doing this for 30 years. Why are you just thinking about these solutions right now?
She's been thinking about these solutions the whole fucking time, but she hasn't been the president the whole time. And even so, the president can't just do things like that. They have to have agreement among a bunch of other people, so... To be fair to Bush, Clinton repealed Glass-Steagall. Oh, was it Clinton? I didn't remember which person it was. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Bill Clinton repealed Glass-Steagall. So that is a little bit his fault.
To think of solutions.
Well, actually,
I will bring back jobs.
He is such an annoying shithead. I can't fucking stand this guy.
You can't bring back jobs.
Well, actually, I have thought about this quite a bit.
Yeah, for 30 years.
I have, well, not quite that long. I think my husband did a pretty good job in the 1990s. I think a lot about what worked and how we can make it work again.
Well, he approved.
Well, Bill Clinton had a good economy because of the dot-com bubble, because the internet appeared and, you know, exploded under him. But okay. You know, he still did an okay job, aside from NAFTA, the trade deal, which wasn't fantastic, and also repealing Glass-Steagall.
Million new jobs,
he
a
approved
balanced
NAFTA,
budget,
which is the single worst trade deal ever approved in this country.
Wasn't the worst trade deal ever approved, but it wasn't good.
New jobs,
he approved
a balanced
NAFTA,
budget,
which is the single worst trade deal ever approved in this country.
Incomes went up for everybody. Manufacturing jobs went up also in the 1990s, if we're actually going to look at the facts. When I was in the Senate, I had...
We're in a fact-free zone here, Hillary.
Had a number of trade deals that came before me, and I held them all to the same test. Will they create jobs in America? Will they raise incomes in America? And are they good for our national security? Some of them I voted for. The biggest one, a multinational one known as CAFTA, I voted against. And because I hold the same standards as I look at all of these trade deals. But let's not assume that trade is the only challenge we have in the economy. I think it is a part of it, and I've said what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a special prosecutor. We're going to enforce the trade deals we have, and we're going to hold people accountable. When I was Secretary of State, we actually increased American exports globally 30%. We increased them to China 50%. So I know how to really work to get new jobs and to get exports that help to create more new jobs.
Very quick.
She honestly does. Hillary Clinton is, I would venture to argue, she is one of the most knowledgeable, capable human beings on planet Earth when it comes to like politics and how to run a country or whatever. Like, truly deeply impressive. Hater, lover, whatever, but she knows what the f she's doing, for real.
Well, you haven't done it in 30 years or 26 years.
Well, I've been a senator,
You haven't done it.
And
You haven't
I
done
have
it.
been a
And
Secretary of State, and I have
Your
done
husband signed
a lot.
NAFTA, which was one of the worst things that ever happened to the
that's your
manufacturing
opinion.
industry.
That is your opinion.
You go to New England.
Yeah, NAFTA wasn't fantastic, but I think Trump is overplaying how bad it was here.
You go to Ohio, Pennsylvania, you go anywhere you want, Secretary Clinton, and you will see devastation where manufacturing is down 30, 40, sometimes 50%. NAFTA is the worst trade deal maybe ever signed anywhere, but certainly ever
That's bullshit.
signed in this country. And now you want to approve Trans-Pacific Partnership. You were totally in favor of it. Then you heard what I was saying, how bad it is, and you said,
Yeah, I remember the TPP. To my knowledge, I don't remember I don't think that it was good, the TPP deal.
I can't win that debate, but you know that if you did win, you would approve that, and that will be almost as bad as NAFTA. Nothing will ever top NAFTA.
That is just not accurate. I was against it once it was finally negotiated and the terms were laid out. I wrote about that in...
You called it the gold standard.
Well, I hope...
Here he goes. He's going to start interrupting and shit. See, this is why you got to have a mute button on his microphone.
Called it the gold standard of trade deals. You said it's the finest deal you've ever seen.
No.
And then you heard what...
She can't let him do this. She's going to look childish too. But I think, in my opinion, the way to deal with this strategy that he does, where he just talks over people, he knows that he can just talk and talk and talk, and people will stop talking because they're polite and they worry about their image. He doesn't worry about his image. He doesn't care. I think the strategy to deal with this from Trump is to be as obnoxious as he is. Unfortunately, like, I don't think there's any other way. Talk over him. If he talks over you, just keep on going. Keep talking, ignore what he's saying, and keep on going.
What I said about it, and all of a sudden you were against it.
Well, Donald, I know you live in your own reality, but that is not the facts. The facts are, I did say I hoped it would be a good deal, but when it was negotiated, which I was not responsible for, I concluded it wasn't. I wrote about that.
So is it President Obama's fault?
Is
it President?
Oh my God! Shut the f up, Donald.
Obama's fault?
Even announced. Look, there
Secretary,
are
is it President Obama's fault?
There are
because he's pushing it.
There are different views about what's good for our country, our economy, and our leadership in the world. And I think it's important to look at what we need to do to get the economy going again. That's why I said new jobs with rising incomes, investments, not in more tax cuts that would add $5 trillion to the debt.
But you have
Which it did, and which he pushed through.
no plan.
Oh, I do.
Secretary,
in fact,
you have...
He does. She does have. Are you fucking kidding me? She's been in politics longer than Trump has been in real estate, probably. I don't know. Maybe not. But still, she's been in it for a long time. Of course she has a plan.
No plan.
A book about it. It's called Stronger Together. You can pick it up
That's
tomorrow
about all you...
Folks,
at
we're
the
gonna...
bookstore or at an airport near you.
We're going to move to...
But it's because I see this. We need to have strong growth, fair growth, sustained growth. We also have to look at how we help families balance the responsibilities at home and the responsibilities at business. So we have a very robust set of plans, and people who have looked at both of our plans have concluded that mine would create 10 million jobs and yours would lose us 3.5 million jobs and explode.
You are going to approve.
Yeah, and like everything that she said happened. Literally everything she said happened. Hillary knew what she was talking about, for real. She knew. And we got this guy instead. How sad is that? She said she gave her plan and his plan to the same economists, and they gave what turned out to be accurate results. Oh, I missed. Yeah, I don't think I might have missed that. Does Trump even have a plan? Or did he? Outside of just like, well, I guess raise tariffs to stop companies from going overseas. I guess that was his plan.
One of
Which
the biggest
would
tax
have
cuts
a
in
recession.
history. You are going to approve one of the biggest tax increases in history. You are going to drive business out. Your regulations are a disaster, and you're going to increase regulations all over the place. And by the way, my tax cut is the biggest since Ronald Reagan. I'm very proud of it. It will create tremendous numbers of new jobs. But
dude, I can't even believe that presidential candidates could get away or can get away with saying such a thing. I'm going to cut taxes more than anybody on planet Earth. That's crazy to say that. And to get votes still.
regulations, you are going to regulate these businesses out of existence. When I go around, Lester, I tell you this, I've been all over. And when I go around, despite the tax cut, the things that businesses and people like the most is the fact that I'm cutting regulation. You have regulations on top of regulations, and new companies cannot form, and old companies are going out of business. And you...
What are you talking about? I formed a company fairly recently, like just, created, got a business license for a new city or whatever. That's not hard to do. Pretty straightforward. Wasn't even expensive. You just give them a filing fee and you're done. What do you mean new companies can't form? What are you talking about? Of course they can.
Want to increase the regulations and make them even worse. I'm going to cut regulations, but I'm going to cut taxes, big league, and you're going to
big league.
Raise taxes, big league. End of story.
Let me get you to...
He's not saying big league. He's saying big league. That's what I thought. I used to say big league too when I was really little, like in the 90s I said that. It was just kind of a colloquialism. I think that's interesting. Big league.
Pause right there because we're going to move into the next segment. We're going to talk taxes.
That can't be left
Please
to stand.
take 30 seconds.
I kind of assumed that there would be a lot of these charges and claims. And so
Facts.
We have taken the homepage of my website, HillaryClinton.com, and we've turned it into a fact checker. So if you want to see in real...
I wonder, what does it look like now? HillaryClinton.com. Oh, it's not a fact checker anymore. It's just... Yeah, it looks like it's just like a thing for her or whatever. You know what I find interesting, kind of on an unrelated note? You know Joe Biden's middle name? It's Robinette. Joseph Robinette Biden. Do you know Joe Rogan's middle name? It's Joseph Robinette Rogan. How crazy is that? Same first and middle name, Joseph Robinette. That's just nuts to me. I'm sorry. Anyway.
Time what the facts are, please go and take a look, because
take a look at mine also, and you'll see.
Add a penny to the debt, and your plans would add $5 trillion to the debt. What I have proposed would cut regulations and streamline them for small businesses. What I have proposed would be paid for by raising taxes on the wealthy because they have made all the gains in the economy. And I think it's time that the wealthy and corporations paid their fair share to support this country.
You just opened the next segment.
Well, look, could I just finish?
All right, so we're going to pause it here, but let me just point out, like, the really sad thing about this, okay? Hillary Clinton knew what she was talking about, obviously, right? I think that's clear as day. I think it's clear as day that she would have been a phenomenally good president if she had, had the opportunity to be a president or whatever. And instead of getting Hillary Clinton as president, we got the jagoff on the left as president, and we got conspiracy theories about Hillary Clinton. Hold on, let me find a good one. Hold on. We got stuff like this from Stu Peters.
What did Hillary Clinton mean when she said that she would be sacrificing a chicken to Moloch? Why did 9 of the 12 people who saw the contents of Anthony Weiner's laptop kill themselves?
I'm sure I don't even need to say this, but I'm going to anyway. Like, all of this shit is just made up.
I'm supposed to believe that? What is frazzle drip? Do you know what frazzle drip is?
Frazzle drip. Oh my god, dude. If you don't know frazzle drip, it's the conspiracy theory that, okay, Anthony Weiner was a senator, maybe, or a congressman of some sort. He's married to a woman named Huma Abedin, okay? Huma Abedin was also Hillary Clinton's aide. She worked for her. Well, Anthony Weiner had this problem. Wild last name, by the way. I don't blame Huma Abedin for not taking it. Anyway, he had this problem where he liked taking pictures of his junk and, like, sending it to people. He sent it to the wrong person once, and by wrong person, I mean somebody under the age of 18. Oopsie daisy. And he got arrested for that, as he should have, rightly. And even worse, the picture that he took, he had his kid sitting in his bed next to him. Like, he was asleep. The kid was asleep, but still. What is wrong with you, bro? Oh my god, that's disgusting. Anyway, the cops show up to his house to arrest him, and they, what do you call, like, they put his laptop in an evidence bag and everything, obviously. And suddenly, a conspiracy theory comes out of the ether called Frazzle Drip, and it goes like this. QAnon, I don't think quite existed yet when this happened. Maybe they had just started. They started claiming that on Anthony Weiner's laptop, there's a video of Hillary Clinton and Huma Abedin, I'm just going to have to say it, cutting the face off of a 12-year-old girl and wearing it like, like Silence of the Lambs style. Isn't that what that's from, Silence of the Lambs? Because they wanted to scare this kid to get adrenaline pumping through her body, because when adrenaline pumps through your body, it produces adrenochrome. And if you drink the blood at that point, then the adrenochrome will give you a high. It's like the best high that you can get or whatever. Now, literally everything that I just said is totally made up. Adrenochrome is real, and it's not hard to get. It's something you could just, like, buy. The scientists have studied over the years. And if you take adrenochrome, it just gives you a mild headache. Adrenochrome is simply adrenaline that's been oxygenated. Like, you know how rust, when you create rust by mixing iron and oxygen? Yeah, adrenochrome forms when adrenaline molecules mix with oxygen. It's like not, mysterious or hard to access or a big deal or whatever. Like, they're just completely making that up. It's just like spent adrenaline. Now, you can get adrenaline. It's not hard to get. Just, like, jump out of an airplane if you want. You'll get adrenaline pumping pretty quick. So that was the QAnon conspiracy theory, and that's what, like, really destroyed Hillary Clinton's reputation. It wrecked it. And that was the thing that, like, won Trump the election, or one of the many things that won the election for Donald Trump, sadly. It's so disappointing. It's so disappointing that people fell for it, you know? You got videos like this coming out. This is Liz Crokin, a journalist, a real journalist. Not anymore. She's gone down the QAnon conspiracy rabbit hole like you wouldn't believe. But this one is from 2022.
The White Hats tainted the elite's adrenochrome supply with the corona virus. And that's why so many members of the elites are getting the coronavirus, if indeed they do have the coronavirus. So adrenochrome is a drug that the elites love. It comes from children. The drug is extracted from the pituitary gland.
She meant adrenal gland, but no.
Of tortured children. It's sold on the black market. It's the drug of the elites. It's their favorite drug.
Literally no.
It is beyond evil. It's demonic. It is so sick. So there is a theory that...
A theory, quote unquote.
The white hats tainted their adrenochrome supply with the coronavirus.
So anyway, we got clips like that and clips like this.
We have the power to demand that the law...
Sorry, no, not this one. It's this clip.
I know with absolute certainty there is a tape that exists that involves Hillary Clinton sexually abusing a child, okay? I know that some people have seen it, some law enforcement, the NYPD law enforcement, some NYPD officers have seen it, and it made them sick.
It's all made up, like all of it.
It made them cry, it made them vomit. Some of them had to seek psychological counseling after this, okay?
Well, I mean, not for nothing, but police officers have to seek psychological counseling all the time. But this is just made up.
So there are people that are reporting that in this video, I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's so disgusting.
It's exactly as I described it.
But in this video, they child's face as the child's alive. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, so anyway, the point is that these people were completely full of shit and destroyed our opportunity to have any kind of, safety in president, like any kind of good presidency in 2016. It was all downhill when they started that shit. It is so sad. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. It's just nuts, man. I'm actually absolutely fascinated by this debate. The video does not exist. I personally went looking for it on the dark web when they started talking about this. Yeah, I know. I thought they'd make a deep fake about it or something, but they didn't even make a deep fake. It's just not real. Simply not out there. Anyway, yeah, tell me what you think about it in the comments. It's just absurd.